So this is going to be an attempt at a response video. I've got a dating coach here from Melbourne by the looks of it. She coaches women and men apparently, and so she sees both sides of the problem. Not that I see it as a problem, but she gets asked about MGTOW all the time, and so she's analysed the situation, and she's going to give us her understanding of it, and I'm going to attempt to make some responses. Just for clarity and brevity, I've deleted the first minute and a half or so where she's just introducing herself and
get asked a lot about what I think about the MGTOW movement. Now, I did a video on my channel a couple of years ago now, and it was called "Should We Be Worried About Sex Robots?" And I'll link it up for you guys later on if you want to check it out. Now, I had so many men actually respond to this video, and basically it was like this anger that came out. Guys were like, well, why are we being punished for wanting to have a sex robot when you women go and have your own sort of pleasure machines?
Okay, so on the subject of sex robots, there's a taboo against male masturbation. It has been for thousands of years, and this is a tool that is used to keep men on the plantation, to keep men ploughing the field, to subdue men and to corral and control men. It's been used by religions, it's been used throughout history, because the sex drive is the strongest drive in both the genders. Women, on the other hand, women's masturbation, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry today, where it's not just the sex toys, there's pornography, there's OnlyFans, all the rest of it. It's encouraged, would be my view of it. And so when you've got a dating coach here telling men that they can't have their sex robots, of course you're going to get men who are getting angry, because we can see this double standard it sticks out like dog's balls.
And this whole anger and bitterness came out, and then the question and the thoughts about, okay, Renee, what do you think about MGTOW? And I've actually had quite a lot of women contact me and ask me that as well. So I want to dive into that, and I also want to give any of my followers, and I have 6 points that I want to bring to the forefront when it comes to MGTOW. So I just want to jump into those straight away right now. Okay, the first thing that I will say is this: it is not a competition. What I've found is that over time, gender roles have changed. And I 100% agree with you guys out there, like you men, that things aren't the way that they used to be. You know, we don't have the traditional roles as what we used to. Women are now becoming more empowered. We've had the rise of feminism, voting. Women are becoming more confident with initiating dating. Women are getting positions that were traditionally given to men. So what I've found is that...
Okay, so she's building a straw man here. Women are becoming empowered, and they've got the vote now. Lo and behold, traditional roles have changed over time. Who would have thought that, you know? She 100% agrees with the men that things aren't like they used to be. Well, you know, this just patronizing crap.
That it's impacted dating and relationships greatly, because there has actually been a shift in identity. Unfortunately, from my perspective, in some cases, when women have become empowered, it has actually disempowered men to a certain degree. Now, I believe that whilst there can be toxic masculinity, I do believe that exists, I also believe that there can be toxic femininity. Okay? I believe that because we've got toxic extremes of, women going, well, this is what we want and this is what we're entitled to, and, men should do this and men should do that, it's moved away from a sense of being empowered to a sense of being self-entitled. And that to me is toxic. If women have gone from empowering one another and stepping into what we rightly deserve, which is, equal pay and, fair choice and things like that, but then turned it into something toxic by coming from a place of ego and a place of self-entitlement, yes, that is toxic femininity. However, I don't believe that that gives anyone a right, or the opposite gender a right, to then step into toxic masculinity.
Okay, so there's toxic masculinity and there's toxic femininity. And what she's saying is two wrongs don't make a right.
Now, if you've got two extremes, or if you have one extreme and then you have an extreme reaction, either way there's going to be some sort of imbalance, because you've got extremes, right? And it's not really going to work. So what we've done is women have gone, unfortunately, into this self-entitlement sort of high maintenance attitude, especially.
Okay, yeah, so that sounds plausible, but if you've got a fulcrum and you've got a weight either side, the further or the more extreme the distance from the balance point, the more stable the fulcrum or the balance is, if you like. So what she's doing here is setting up this straw man where MGTOW are toxic, is toxic masculinity. That's why she's positioning herself around this idea that there's this feminism that's gone too far, where they're entitled or self-entitled women, and that means that the equivalent in men, self-entitled men, which would be MGTOW. Okay, so
when it comes to dating, I know the struggles that you guys go through. However, I don't think that the answer is to step into another extreme movement that actually continues to divide the sexes. I think that we've got enough battles going on individually within ourselves and within our genders, without us creating more battles by believing that if I can give an extreme reaction to something that they're doing wrong, then this is going to solve the problem.
So I just find this sort of thing tedious to listen to. That's just patronizing. MGTOW aren't trying to solve the problem, right? And it's not an extreme reaction. So that's just, she's just failed to understand the real basics of MGTOW there.
And what I find more than often is that men who have been hurt by women, men who've been hurt by maybe having everything taken away from them when their marriage falls apart, men who have been hurt by feminism or toxic feminism, rather, are men who then become bitter. And those are the men, in my experience, who then are starting to back the MGTOW movement. And as
Okay, so there's the straw man right there. So men who have been hurt and by women and toxic feminism. Maybe she means toxic femininity or whatever it is. That's the straw man right there. So MGTOW are just this bunch of hurt crybabies who they need a good woman to save them. She's a dating coach,
said, two wrongs don't make a right here. It really doesn't. It's not solving the problem. All it's doing is creating more disunity, which is almost like putting fuel on the fire, which then makes the women want to react this way, and then it makes the men want to react this way. And then what we tend to do is we tend to box people. We tend to go, well, all women are, bloodsuckers. And then all women go, well, all men are men. Women go, oh, all men don't want to commit. And it's ridiculous because...
Okay, so she's been disingenuous and dishonest here. We've all heard the all men are bastards, all men are arseholes, you can't trust men, the mantra that goes on. and she's heard it, and she's, the men walking away are an extreme reaction, and then that creates an extreme reaction from women. Well, MGTOW is not an extreme reaction. MGTOW is a rational, considered position that becomes a discipline, a philosophy, and a way of life. It's got nothing to do with children fighting with each other. MGTOW aren't fighting women. MGTOW aren't agitating for change. We're accepting that women are entitled, and she accepts that that's what they are at the moment, and that the times have changed, and this is our way of dealing with it, which is we find our own path in life, and there's nothing wrong with that.
We can't go and label everyone of the minority who have actually done something wrong. So that's my first point. It is not a competition. The second point that I want to say is we are built to balance. We're not built to be the same. So what I mean by that is one of the things that frustrates me is everyone's like, well, men and women are equal. We're not equal. We're completely different. We have strengths about us and we have weaknesses about us. You guys have strengths about you and you have weaknesses about you. Again, this isn't a competition. If we were both the same, we wouldn't need each other. We are built to balance one another. In times where a woman is soft and feminine, she is balanced out by a man who is masculine. If a woman wants to be masculine and then she wants to date or be with a man who is masculine, then you've got two of the same energies, and it's not really going to fit. What's going to happen is it's going to actually become a competition, or it's going to be something where one person feels less than the other, and then it all just starts to disintegrate. So if we can get the mindset around the fact that it is okay to be different to men, and men, it is okay to be different to women. This isn't about meeting eye to eye necessarily or being exactly the same. This is about understanding that the way that we're created as females and as males is to complement each other. And it's going to be hard to complement each other if we are punishing the other person for their view or their differences.
So, she's talking about punishing, MGTOW punishing women. No, having nothing to do with women is not punishing women, okay? Now, that's a female perspective that she's showing there, because women, like manipulative, narcissistic women, will use the ghosting behaviour where they ignore the person they're trying to manipulate. Now, MGTOW are not trying to manipulate women, okay? MGTOW are saying we don't need Western women in our lives, basically. That's the message. And there's like, it's got nothing to do with the women. In that we're not trying to punish women, we're not trying to manipulate women, we're not trying to change women. We've accepted that this is what the women are and what they are like, and she talks about women being masculine, and that's abundantly clear. But just putting a frock on or a flowery dress or something doesn't make a woman feminine. Okay, it's far deeper than that, and Western women have just lost their femininity. They don't like it. They don't adhere to it. They don't feel it. It's all gone way too far. Now she talks about masculine energy and feminine energy in this little part, and energy is actually equals MC squared. So I don't like this idea of masculine and feminine energy, but she's trying to get across that somehow there's this fluid masculine, feminine, wishy-washy spirituality stuff, and it's no, okay, there's men are men, MGTOW are men, you know. We understand masculinity, so this is a bit difficult to listen to.
Now, I obviously will never ever excuse behavior that is toxic in the way of, you know, men abusing women or women abusing men. I don't believe in that at all. I'm talking about we're built to balance each other, because if we know how to build functional, healthy relationships, because we're coming from a place of wholeness, that is when we'll actually start thriving in love. But what I think MGTOW is doing is it's having this protective mindset over men, because it's almost like you guys are wounded. And for any of my followers who are, you know, part of the MGTOW movement, I understand you and I see you. I may not have lived your pain, and maybe I don't know your full story, but I know that you most likely would not have this reaction to women if you yourself haven't been wounded by a woman.
No. Okay. Wounded MGTOW are just men who've been wounded by some nasty woman. That's. I mean, she just put the lie to the statement where she understands her MGTOW followers. You know, no, you don't understand anything, love. Okay, that's just simplistic bullshit. I know plenty of MGTOW, never been wounded, and I speak as one of them. No, you clearly are out of your depth on this subject. No, it's a nice idea for a relationship coach to patronise us poor little MGTOW men. You know, we're just hurt little boys running away. No.
We are broken people dating broken people, unfortunately. But our brokenness shouldn't be a reason why we then involve ourselves in toxic behavior, toxic movements, or toxic decisions, which then actually keep us wounded. We may have been wounded by others, but I believe it is also our responsibility to actually start healing ourselves. And for women who have been wounded by men, hence maybe you've become really an extreme feminist, or maybe you've become coming from this place of self-entitlement, that again is an indication of your wounds. Where for men, an indication of their wounds is to basically close off from women, or just be against the principle of marriage, or again go into MGTOW. Either way, we've got two parties that have been wounded, and they assume that if I wound the other party even more, then that justifies my wounds. But shooting someone else when you've been shot yourself isn't going to heal the main core problem here.
Yeah, so this is where she's clearly misunderstanding MGTOW. She talks about MGTOW being a movement, which it is not a movement. She also talks about men going to MGTOW like it's some kind of organisation, which it's not. There's no PO box that you can write a letter to. There's no street address. There's no committee. So that men can't go to MGTOW. So she's clearly coming at it from the feminist. She's seen MGTOW as a anti-feminist movement, which it's not. And she's saying that MGTOW are wounding the women, the MGTOW running away because they've been wounded, and now they've got to fight with the other women. We're not fighting. It's not a fight, right? There isn't two sides. There's no conflict. And there's no agitation for change. There's no movement. It's just men who've red-pilled and decided that they're not going to be part of the mainstream Western society. It's not toxic, right? There's no toxicity in that. It's a feeling of peace. That's what it is, really. It's fulfillment and peace.
And so we have to understand how to work from a place where we can heal within ourselves, not label the other party as all in the same bucket. They're all trying to hurt me. They're all commitment phobes, or they're all trying to take my money, or they all want to just marry us for our money or whatever. And be educated and understand how to regulate our emotions so that we can start to heal. Because if we just keep going through life going, well, you did this to me, so therefore I'm going to do this to you. Holy moly, you are going to have a life that is full of anger, full of bitterness. You won't have peace. You won't have progress. You may convince yourself that you do, but the truth is you won't, because you'll keep coming back to this battle and this battle again and again and again. And even if you have been wounded by women in the past, or women, if you've been wounded by men in the past, it doesn't mean that that has to be your present circumstance or your future. This is about you understanding that we don't have to be controlled by our past, and having an extreme reaction by joining something that is toxic or encouraging toxic mindset and beliefs is not going to heal you from the pain that you've been experiencing. Are you liking this, guys? Let me know if you're liking this. I know it's probably pretty heavy for a Thursday, but I feel like, you know, this is something that we need to really talk about. I'm just reading some of your comments. Okay. All right. So, which brings me to my next point, number 3. Feminism can be toxic, but also masculinity can be toxic as well, okay? So, as I was saying before, you know, there is unfortunately an extreme where we've had this role reversal in dating and genders and relationships. It's no longer the woman just staying at home. A lot of women are getting married a lot later in life. They're choosing to have children later on in life, or they're not at all. And sometimes it's the man who stays at home. And there has been a shift in identity, absolutely, which has caused a lot of men, more so than women, to stop and go, well, where do I fit now if she wants to take on a lot of the masculine role? And it's something that I am trying to educate women on, and obviously trying to educate men on, again, to not react, but to learn how to adjust to situations whilst also keeping to what is fundamental and healthy. However, when women go to a point where they're coming from wounds and, again, self-entitlement, that is when feminism can be toxic. I am all for women having equal rights. I am all for women having equal pay. I am all for empowering women. I coach women. I love to see women flourish. I know what it's like to be in an environment where you don't feel that you're heard or seen because you're a woman, or that you're just this sex object. Okay, I did modeling for years. However, I also believe that the moment that feminism becomes toxic is the moment when we move away from a place of empowerment, and again, we move into more self-entitled to punish men. And I believe that true feminism isn't about punishing the opposite sex. I believe that true feminism is about empowering women to be the best versions of themselves and step into their own power, whilst also doing it aligning.
Okay, so she believes in true feminism is blah, blah, blah. So that's that can all just be dismissed as the true Scotsman fallacy. It's a load of crap. Again, superficial bullshit where she's just glossing over anything anything that men might raise about their situation in Western society, not getting addressed. It's just about this wishy-washy, you've been hurt, toxic, blah, blah, blah. No, this is all just crap. The true Scotsman fallacy.
With men or alongside men and allowing them to flourish as well. I mean, imagine if we lived in a world where both people were allowed to flourish and it wasn't this competition and it wasn't about, well, because you're doing this, I have to do this. You know, again, this is about, unfortunately, the influence of generations of women feeling that they've been under a lot of pressure, under a lot of limits, and they're finally doing something about it. Unfortunately, they're going to the extreme. And what it's done for men is they're now coming out with their extreme reaction as well. And the whole MGTOW movement usually came around, I think, around the MeToo movement. And the MeToo movement was obviously when women started talking about sexual assault and things like that. Now, some of them weren't telling the truth, which is really upsetting. However, we can't dismiss the truth based off the few that weren't telling the truth.
Okay, no. All right. MGTOW's been around a hell of a lot longer than the MeToo movement. And the MeToo movement's not about some women not telling the truth. All right. The issue with the MeToo movement is the lack of due process for men. It's the denial of a basic legal right to due process under the law. That's the problem with the MeToo hashtag. So this idea that the MGTOW's a reaction to Me Too, no way, not at all.
And it's not fair, again, to put people in this box and have an extreme reaction to the ones and try and punish everyone for the few that actually were doing wrong. So I think that there are traits in both men and women that can be toxic. Absolutely. Some of the stories that I get from my female clients who tell me what some of the men have done to them makes me really upset, and I guess angry to a point that men would treat a woman that way. But then on the flip side, some of the clients that I have that are male that then tell me what women say to them, I'm like, are you serious? Women are actually saying that to you? That is horrible. So I see both sides here. So I just want you to understand that there are going to be toxic traits on both men and women. And it's not about focusing on, well, how can I start to, be even stronger in my mindset to make sure that that toxic trait is revealed and how can we punish them? It's about, again, coming from a place of healing and understanding that not everyone is the same. You can't choose what other people are going to do to you. But what you can do is choose who you actually invite into your life. And if you are a guy currently who has actually been hurt by women or had mates hurt by women, you've maybe gone through the ringer where you feel like women have only taken you for your money, they've taken the kids away from you, you're struggling with mental health.
I don't care how empowered you think women are, it's not women that separate the men from their assets and their children. That's the legal system that does that.
I just want to encourage you that the answer isn't in trying to punish more women for what maybe a few women have done to you. I want to encourage you to actually focus on your healing. And I want to encourage you to actually talk to someone about what it is that you're feeling. So that...
Yeah, I agree with her on that one. I think MGTOW can definitely help with men who need to reach out and get understanding. And I believe that there can be a brotherhood of MGTOW where we do support one another, getting through some tough times. But this idea that you're going to get healing from a dating coach who's going to just get you back on the field ploughing away, no, okay. I think that men who need help can reach out to other men who've been through that ringer, down that rough road, and there's, MGTOW it can offer advice, like we can support each other.
You can let it out so that you don't have to carry this pain and this bitterness around you. Now, I want to also bring up a really interesting point. And this is something that my own fiance was talking to me about, and it makes complete sense. And we have a big discussion about this. What happens is when a girl is in her 20s, she is someone that develops faster than men. She starts to come into her beauty. She starts to, get her curves. She starts to feel a bit sexy and confident. Now, when guys head into their 20s, they're usually a little bit awkward. They're a little bit more pimply. Their hormones haven't settled down. They haven't necessarily gained their masculine features. And when I say masculine features which women usually see as, men in their 30s and 40s, okay, a little bit older. And they're only just kind of starting out in their career. So that you've got men and women in their 20s. Now, women in their 20s tend to actually want to be with a man older. And I was the same, and I've completely confessed this in other videos. We become more attracted to more of a father figure, or just necessarily just someone who's older than us, a man who has status, a man who has security, a man who has already developed and gone past that kind of awkward stage. We become more attracted to this guy. Now, this guy's probably 10 years older than us, maybe 8 years older than us. And we don't necessarily think, oh, are we going to settle down with that guy? But we do think we want to date that guy, okay? And you'll see this happen all the time. Then what happens is that as we get older as a woman, we all of a sudden reach our late 20s and we realize that, hang on a second, we haven't found a guy yet, because the man that was that we wanted to date, that was 10 years older than us, we knew that we weren't really going to marry him. We were just kind of dating him to, experience an older man, and maybe just to experience the love that we think that we need at that time. Okay, let's not go and label people. We're just doing what we normally do on instinct, okay? Now, we then get to a stage where, and this is something that I see in my female clients, where we're in our late 20s, in our 30s, and we're kind of like, crap, I can't find a man now, because the man that I wanted when I was in my 30s is now looking at the girls in her 20s. And so what we do is we kind of have these men that we pushed aside when we were 20 because they were the same age as us. They're now grown into their 30s, but they're now looking at the 20-year-olds. Or they've decided that, okay, I finally had a woman appreciate me, so I'm going to settle down with her. And this is probably why we have a lot of women who then find it harder to settle down with a guy once she gets into her late 20s and 30s or 40s, because she played the field a little bit when she was younger, which is normal. And now she's finding it harder to find a guy to want to settle down at the same age, because he is now looking at the younger ones, because the younger ones are looking at the older ones. And so we have this divide, we have this gap where the natural instincts that we have as men and women obviously give us preferences. And those preferences don't always set us up for the healthy relationship that we want. And so men feel like, well, you didn't want me when I was 20, and now that I'm 30 and I've got status and I've got, security and this and that, now you're looking at me, but you didn't want me 10 years ago, so why should I actually give you the time of day? I'm going to give the 20-year-old time of day because I know that she's actually affirming me, she's appreciating me. And that, my friends, is where we have a really, really big problem.
Well, that, my friend, is not a MGTOW problem. That is a modern Western female problem. And care factor on that one is absolutely fucking zero.
So I think that has definitely contributed to the whole women getting into this mindset of, well, you owe me this, and men going, well, hang on a second, I don't owe you anything, okay? The only thing that each other owes one another is respect and the fundamentals if you're going to engage in a relationship with that person. But you can't go into a relationship with this attitude of, I'm a woman, so therefore I should have this. We're both humans. And because we're a human, I deserve to be treated like a human. I deserve to be respected as a human. And if that...
So I'll just stop you there. I agree with you that respect is important. It's very important. But it's quite clear and it's blatantly obvious that Western men are not respected by Western society, and least of all respected by women. So you can rattle on about respect. Women do not and will not ever respect men. It just doesn't happen. It's bred out of them. So respect is important. You don't get it in the Western societies as a man. And that's something as a woman you'll never understand.
That person isn't able to give you the fundamentals to have a healthy relationship, then you shouldn't be engaging with that person in the first place.
Oh, you're starting to get it. Yep, it's MGTOW.
Now, the fifth point that I want to make, I don't know if it's point number 5, there you go, maybe, is what are you guys trying to achieve? With the whole MGTOW movement, I understand that there is a lot of anger behind what you're feeling. That's why you've created this movement. But at the end of the day,
what are we trying to achieve by creating this movement? So MGTOW is not a movement. We haven't created it. This is men all over the world spontaneously arriving at the same decision, which is to not cohabitate with women. So what we're trying to achieve, I would say, on a personal level, happiness and contentment and peace. I think that's what each MGTOW wants. We're definitely not trying to achieve status quo or the change or any kind of anything other than our self-fulfillment, our bettering ourselves, a decent life as a man. It's a lifestyle choice. It's a philosophy. It's not a movement. And when you cast it as a movement, you display a distinct lack of understanding. And all your 5 points that you've made so far have been irrelevant. You're not on topic. You're not understanding MGTOW. I don't know what else to say. I will say that the anger, is part of the red pill experience. I think that's what you're confusing here or conflating, is the red pill rage with MGTOW. They're aligned. They're part of a journey, steps on a pathway to a better life, that's for sure. But red pill rage is just where it's like when Neo's pulling the interface out of the back of his neck, and getting rid of the breathing tube. It's that understanding that, hello, there's something not right here, and then you follow that white rabbit down that rabbit hole, and you get fucking angry as a man. But that's not MGTOW. MGTOW's at the other end of that rabbit hole.
What is that anger achieving? What is that bitterness achieving? What do you get by slandering women? And what do women get by slandering men? You see what I mean? Is going back to the first point, like, it's not a competition. This shouldn't be a battle of the sexes. This should be about, okay, how do I heal from my past pain or my present pain and make sure I don't continue to align myself with women who are going to take advantage of me again, instead of punishing every single woman out there. And lastly, I want to say that, again, the main focus has to be about healing. You will know when someone's wounded because they will become defensive. They will say things like, yeah, but, this woman, she took all my money, or she took all my kids, and she won't do this and that, and men have had enough of being put down, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Hello, I've got an MGTOW strong slander. I don't understand what you mean about that. Let me get back to the questions in a moment, guys and girls. Let me just finish this point. So yeah, my main thing is being defensive. Defensive is the perfect indication that somebody is hurting or someone wants to protect themselves. If someone attacks you, the first thing to do is like, no, I didn't do that. And you put your defenses up, whether verbally or through silence, through actions. And people that are defensive about things that can lead to toxic mindsets is usually because they still have healing to be done. And I see it all the time in clients. I see it with men and females. So again, guys, when I'm talking about the MGTOW movement, you guys wanted my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my professional opinion. This is my personal opinion. I work with men and women. I see wounds on both sides. I see extremes on both sides. I see what is healthy and what is fundamental on both sides. And I just want to try and bring some balance.
Yeah, so if that's your professional opinion, I'm underwhelmed that you've clearly not done your research. You've clearly not understood MGTOW, the tenets of MGTOW. You're projecting, I think, projecting your personal experiences onto the issue. It's definitely an underwhelming professional opinion, and clearly not addressing or understanding any of the issues. Certainly you're not listening to the men that you're coaching. If you're actually coaching MGTOW, which I doubt, because I don't think you'd see many of them in your line of work. So yeah, after this she just starts answering questions from her audience, so she's really nothing to add. Yeah, okay, underwhelming.
I am not here to tell you what you should do or what you should think. That's not my job, okay? I'm here to guide people who are ready to receive what is going to set them up for a healthy relationship and peace within themselves. So let me get to some of those questions. I hope you guys are